What are some of the most common mistakes you've seen founders make?
The most challenging ones that we've seen, and they do happen from time to time, is just sloppiness with equity, cap table management, sloppiness with employment agreements or separation agreements. Things that happen early stage, and it doesn't really come up again until they're about to sell the business. And then the buyer's like, what is this document? We've dealt with those situations over the years. So I've dealt with those situations over the years at various different places.
So if I'm a founder listening to this, right, and I'm thinking, I want to be acquired in 18 months, what's the first thing they should do tomorrow?
First thing, get big customers. Obviously, and then get organized. And we can help with that. We can't work miracles. You need to have significantly growing revenue to be attractive to be an acquisition target. We can help with the organization stuff. We can't help them get the big customer. If you have big customers and a growing business and you've been lax on the back office prep stuff, it's less than ideal, but it's okay. We can still help. It's just going to take a little bit more time.
This is first of what I hope is many video podcasts for Rooney Law. For those of you who don't know, Rooney Law is a boutique international law firm, corporate law firm, based in New York City, but with presence around the United States and into the UK. So we're going to kick off today talking to Kevin McAnally, who is a partner in Chicago office for Rooney Law. And Kevin's background, I'll let him get into, but the idea today is to talk about the Salesforce ecosystem and the companies that operate within it. And Kevin has a unique experience there. So before we dive in, Kevin, you just give us a quick sense of your journey.
Thank you so much for the time. A lot of ways, my journey to the Salesforce ecosystem actually begins and currently sits with Rooney. So about 10 years ago, Al and I started working together, and Alan had a client that needed help. They were an SI, so they implemented Salesforce services, and they were dealing with an M&A situation. So that was probably, I was familiar with Salesforce at the time as a product, but again, this is 10 plus years ago. So really wish I just bought the stock at that point. But instead, I just dove in and started helping these guys who we worked with them for a number of years and able to find them an exit. And shortly thereafter, I left Rooney and joined a startup that was a Salesforce ISV. So I was the only attorney there. So an ISV is different from the first client I mentioned, which is implement Salesforce services. The ISV is an independent software vendor. They build applications on top of the Salesforce platform. So I think from a consumer's perspective, the easiest analogy is an app. If you have an iPhone, an app in the App Store, that is an ISV. And so separate companies, they built on top of the Apple platform, but just from a business perspective, there's a healthy ecosystem. Salesforce's app store is called the AppExchange, and there are thousands of apps that are available that build on top of the Salesforce platform. And so I joined there, and we were fortunate enough to sell the business to Salesforce. So I spent about 7 years at Salesforce and joined another ISV. We're fortunate enough to sell that to a private equity fund. And that brings me back now to Rooney, where we are currently advising a number of companies in the Salesforce ecosystem. So I feel fortunate to have been involved on all sides. And it's just been a great ride.
Good. That's awesome. So what makes the Salesforce ecosystem such fertile ground for entrepreneurs? And I guess what traps should they be prepared for early on as entrepreneurs?
Well, I think it is when you look at the the differing platforms across the ecosystems. Salesforce, despite its size, is still relative to other competitors, is still almost on a growth mode. Relative to the size of a Microsoft or an Oracle. So I think they've always prioritized having a very healthy third-party ecosystem, both SIs and ISVs, because it's good for sales. I mean, I think it's good for Salesforce. It's good for Salesforce customers. And so I think that's why it's been an attractive place for entrepreneurs to build their products. Salesforce Ventures has been one of the most active venture capital funds of any S&P company. And I think, they are building a healthy ecosystem is good for Salesforce. They invest in it. They support it. It's been a great place to, kind of accidentally spend the last 10 years.
There you go. Would you say those companies, Salesforce aligned companies, face different expectations from acquirers or investors than traditional SaaS companies?
I'm not sure, that they have different expectations. I mean, I think anytime you're building on somebody else's platform, even if it's a great platform, there are different constraints. But again, I think Salesforce has been super supportive of the ecosystem because it's good for them. If it's easier for people to implement their products, if despite Salesforce's size and their commitment to innovation, they've got a roadmap of product and features that they want to roll out over time. They can't do everything all at once. If there's an ecosystem of third parties that are doing that on their own, it makes the platform better. It makes it easier. It makes it stickier. It makes customers happier. So I'm not sure that it's different from that sense. I mean, it is unique anytime you're operating on somebody else's platform, but I think it's a good place to be.
Agreed. Let's move into like exit readiness for entrepreneurs in that ecosystem. So when you were an operator, were there signals that made you realize we need to start preparing for an exit, or actually maybe a better way, what do founders underestimate when it comes to getting ready to exit?
As an operator, I was fortunate enough to join companies that had just previously raised capital. So we had gone through, and my colleagues had gone through the muscle memory of going through due diligence process. That was super helpful because by the time that we got term sheets and due diligence requests, the rest of the people that were needed to help kind of were prepared for that, and it was helpful. I think one thing that if you have not gone through that process is to be organized, to seek legal counsel, to have your contracts in one place, especially your material contracts in one place. I think it just helps expedite the process and show some credibility if you're able to respond in an organized way, in a timely way. It gives you credibility because there's all sorts of uncertainty in an M&A transaction. So any credibility or certainty you can provide, especially early on, is super helpful.
Yeah, it's great. So if you're in the Salesforce AppExchange, how should you think about strategic versus financial buyers? Or is it too soon? I mean, I guess there's a variety of firms within that ecosystem in terms of where they are in their life cycle. But is there a difference, or what should they be thinking about in terms of a strategic investor versus just taking cash in?
Sure. So, I mean, I think in this circumstance, the AppExchange is not really too different from what we see in like the startup or later stage startup economy broadly, and that is there's going to be, because the IPO markets have been what they are for tech companies and SaaS businesses. You're seeing a lot of consolidation. You're seeing a lot of private equity money purchasing AppExchange partners. And I think that has been, Salesforce has always been, a force in that ecosystem in terms of the potential acquirer. I think they've been less active, at least, this is not inside baseball. This is just reading the newspaper. I think they've been less active in terms of buying AppExchange partners over the last few years. So I would not be banking on that necessarily if I were an entrepreneur. But there's certainly tons of opportunity and for liquidity within the ecosystem. Right.
So how would you say you or Rooney Law would help in this process? What would an entrepreneur come to you at this point in their life cycle to talk to you about? What advice would you give them?
I don't claim to have any special knowledge, like laws that apply to Salesforce are the same laws that apply to anybody else. But what we've done here at Rooney, we just happen to have collectively seen kind of all sides of this ecosystem, both in terms of representing ISVs and SIs. I mean, I obviously spent some time in Salesforce personally for some time. We've seen all sides of outcomes and processes and problems. Both not just with Salesforce, but with our other clients. So I think we bring a very holistic approach that nothing here really would surprise us. Happy to help any way we can. Again, this was an accidental journey, but here I am back at Rooney, still doing Salesforce stuff.
Love it. I'm going to carry on the theme a little bit more with exits and entrepreneurs. And have you, over the time you spent inside and as a lawyer outside, what are some of the most common mistakes you've seen founders make as they get into the exit process, or even before that?
The most challenging ones that we've seen, and they do happen from time to time, is just sloppiness with equity. Cap table management, sloppiness with employment agreements or separation agreements, things that happen early stage, and then people think they've moved on, and it doesn't really come up again until they're about to sell the business, and then the buyer's like, "What is this document?" We dealt with those situations over the years. So I've dealt with those situations over the years at various different places. And so it happens. I think that's where, and it's hard. It's no shame on entrepreneurs trying to build a business. But I think one of the things that we try to tell our clients is fully understand you got to build a business. You have to manage your costs, but build a business you can sell. And you can't sell it if you have these black holes. Oh, bad choice term. Let's edit that one.
So if you're a buyer, what are the red flags to watch out for in this ecosystem? Over dependence on a single customer or technology integration.
I think that there, at least, again, just my experience does not necessarily make the rule. I think there's less of an issue if you have a dependence on a single customer, a single customer is probably problematic, but a couple large customers in the Salesforce ecosystem, if they're big Salesforce customers. Because then they are important to Salesforce, not only just to you, they're going to be important to your buyer. They can buy other Salesforce products, and that always makes it attractive to an acquirer, because they can pair your service, whether you're an ISV or an SI. They can put your services together with somebody else they acquire they already own, and get more money from these big customers, keep them happier, keep them happy. Salesforce would be supportive of that, because this is a big Salesforce customer. The happier they are using Salesforce services, whether they're buying it from Salesforce or they're buying it from an ISV, or they're doing buying professional services from an SI. It's good for Salesforce to have happy large customers. So if you can get a large Salesforce customer, the concentration of that is maybe less problematic than you would, kind of outside of the ecosystem.
So if I'm a founder listening to this, right, and I'm thinking, I want to be acquired in 18 months. I mean, don't we all?
We all do.
What's the first thing they should do tomorrow, to start that process?
Well, I mean, tomorrow, first thing, get big customers. I mean, obviously, sorry, and then get organized. And we can help with that. But I mean, we can't work miracles. Like, you need to have big customers and bigger revenue, or at least significantly growing revenue, to be attractive to be an acquisition target. But if you have those two things, we can help. I think those are we can help with the organization stuff. We can't help them get the big customer. But if they have a big customer, we can help.
So you're saying getting your ducks in a row as soon as you can is the right thing to do?
Sure. I think it makes it easier. If you have big customers and a growing business and you've been lax on the back office prep stuff, it's less than ideal, but it's okay. We can still help. It's just going to take a little bit more time. But that's not going to preclude an acquisition. What's
your view of the current M&A environment right now? If you're so many founders are looking at trying to raise money and they're struggling with it, maybe exits are the way that one way for them to go if they're mature enough. But what's the market for that like right now?
At least again, no crystal ball, and I don't see the whole universe, but at least what I've seen is more private equity buyers, less capital raising, unless you are an AI company, in which case, in the Salesforce ecosystem, what I have seen is the liquidity that's come there is been from, private equity roll-up type situations, some strategic M&A. And then there's the portion that Salesforce does themselves. They buy 3 or 4 a year from time to time. But there's necessarily massive acquisitions.
So I guess to wrap up, let's end on this. What's the one piece of advice you wish every founder in the Salesforce ecosystem could hear early in their journey? No pressure.
Well, I think Salesforce does a fantastic job of supporting the ecosystem, because let's just be honest, it's in their interest to have a healthy ecosystem. But I do also think it's like, Salesforce is, I know it's grown and it's much bigger now than it was when I started, but as a general matter, Salesforce is a collection of really smart people who generally try to get it right. And the healthy ecosystem, AppExchange ecosystem is in their interest. So, I think, entrepreneurs in the AppExchange should leverage that. They want to help. Salesforce wants to help. Let them help you. Either whether that's Salesforce itself, whether that's an AE at Salesforce, because you're helping them sell. If you help an AE at Salesforce sell software at the end of the year because the customer wants your app and so they have to buy extra stuff, they're thrilled. Salesforce Ventures, again, one of the most active corporate venture funds there is in the country. So I think there's been some talk recently, anytime you're on a platform that's controlled by somebody else, there are potential issues. Recently, there's been some backlash, and I don't know the details because we're not really that involved with any of the companies that could be affected, but where Salesforce has cut off Slack access to certain AI companies that were pulling it and scraping it, made a policy change. I think that's what happens. Like, things are going to change at Salesforce. Innovation is one of their 4 core values. So things may change. I think they're generally going to try to get it right. Anytime you're at the edge of innovation, things will change. But I generally think they're trying to get things right. So, again, just grateful to have stumbled into this universe.
Yeah, we're grateful you have too. I guess that's the wrap for us. Thanks so much, Kevin. It's been nice talking to you. And, hopefully any founders or entrepreneurs or others who hear this and want to learn more or have some questions can drop you a line.
Sounds great. Looking forward to it. Happy to help any way I can.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Frank.